Hey everyone, it's Lainey. Welcome back, and welcome if you're new. Thanks so much for clicking on today's video. I am going to be using Spellbinders' newer release called Peony Celebration. It is 2 cutting dies, and it's by the amazing designer Yana from the Ukraine. I follow her on Pinterest, and I absolutely love her cards. But as you can see, this is quite intricate, so we've got lots of steps to go through. So let's go ahead and just get started with some die cutting. I'm going to go ahead and take the die out, and I'm going to cut this out twice, but first I'm going to be using some colors from the Shimmer Pastel Matte Stack. This is from Joann Fabrics, and I pulled 2 different shades of gold. So I'm going to be using these today. Also just some white cardstock. So what I want to do first is cut out this die here on both shades of gold, and then I'll cut the outside layer, the shadow layer, in the white cardstock. And it creates a beautiful outline, as you can see here on my glass mat, but it has so many pieces. So what I want to do is try to keep them consolidated on my cutting plate here. Just popping them out. And now we have the 2 different shades of gold. And for these extra pieces, I'm not going to be using these for the card today, but I have this little container from Dollar Tree, and I like to put my die cuts in these. This is a smaller one. I have some larger ones too, but I absolutely love these containers, and they're magnetic, and this one just says for miscellaneous, because, you know, you just never know what you're going to use them for, right? Alrighty, so have my outlines and one more die cut. We need to cut this out twice because we have 2 outlines here in the white. Actually, no, I'm getting ahead of myself. I need to cut this out twice, the shadow layer, and I need to cut this out again because I want to use white pieces to fill in the die, if that makes sense. But if it doesn't, it will shortly. And this is just like a puzzle piece. I already played with these dies because I wasn't quite sure on which direction I was going to go with all these little pieces. So I know what I'm doing for this card, but yeah, it just has so many pieces. Alrighty, so I have my 2 shadow layers cut out in white, and this is the second cut out, and I don't really want to pick all of this up. I want to try to keep it together, but I don't think that I can. Yeah, so you can see how it's kind of still staying in the paper. I'm going to leave it like that so it'll help me piece these together. And I'm going to just dump the remaining little pieces and keep them separate. If I can get that last one out. And keep them separate. So I have one flower here, all the pieces, and then the other flower here. I don't want to mix them because there's so many. I feel like that will make things a little more difficult on myself. So first things first, we're going to use the shadow layer and line this up and glue this to the white. And you can use a spray adhesive if that is your glue of choice or adhesive of choice, but it's freezing outside and windy, so I'm just not going to mess with it. So I'm going to move quickly and very carefully here. You know, this does dry clear, but I've stated before, I really don't like to see that clear residue on my cards. Sometimes it's inevitable, but I'm just going to work really fast and go through and try to glue as much as this as I can. And then I'll stick it to the white cardstock, and I'll have to do this for obviously both shades of gold, both of the flower outlines here. But once we get these glued down, then we can really have some fun putting all the puzzle pieces together. I found that it was super relaxing, and I made a couple of cards using this the other day, and I'm going to post both of them because, you know, this die here was about $20, and we all know that craft supplies are super expensive, and I just really want to show you two completely different cards using a die just to stretch your materials. So I'm going to come in with my tweezers so I don't get glue everywhere or all over my hands, and positioning this. Okay. And once it's starting to stick, if you need to move some of the leaves a bit, you can. Like that one needed to be shifted so it was more centered in that shadow layer. Okay. And I'm using my fingers to press it down. I'm just going to end up having to wash my hands. You could use, you know, a stamping block, of course, but because this is so intricate, I just want to make sure that everything is in place and I can shift it with my fingers before the glue really dries. So I'm going to move that aside and let that set, and I'm just going to repeat the process with this darker shade of gold here and get it stuck down. Alrighty, so now that I have both the outlines glued to the shadow layer, you can see all the pretty details and you can kind of tell the difference between the gold. It is faint, but I do like the variation of gold. So I'm going to let these set and dry, and I'm going to clean off my glass mat because it's got some glue on it, and then we will move on to the next step. Okay, so now for the puzzle. I have my wand, my wax tool here, and you definitely want to use this as you put together the pieces. But I kept all of this kind of together so it'll help me place them, obviously, because I can kind of see where they go versus just having them all spread out like this. Just personal preference, but I wanted to show you that because my first one is all loose. So definitely this way is a little easier, but this card is just a me card. Sit back, put some music on or a show, and just enjoy your time. Alrighty, so as I piece these flowers together, I'm gonna speed it up a bit and put on some music. And I hope you find it relaxing and enjoyable, and I cannot wait for you to see what we are going to do next. Alright, so we have a couple pieces left. I'm just trying to find where they go because after looking at this for a while, everything starts to blend together. Just nudge that into place, and we've got one more. There we go, right in the top here. Okay, and that one is done. So let me go ahead and put the pin in the glue. And we are done with our tool for now. So I have 2 tri-blend markers, one in the Pale Pink blend and Coral blend. And what we're going to do now is a bit of shading. And I need a little scrap piece of paper just to test out the colors. The color scheme here is definitely inspired by let me pull it back, the colors that are used in this card. So it's got kind of like a coral, a peach, and a pink. So I'm kind of taking a little bit of the coral and the pink from this. I really liked how that looked. So I am just testing out, if I can open it back up, goodness, testing out the colors here because it has the 3 tones, light, mid, and dark. Okay, and testing this real quick just to make sure that I am using, you know, the shade that I really want to use. So I think for the darker gold one that has been setting for a little bit because I did this one first, I'm going to come in with my coral blend and I'm going to use the mid-tone. And I ordered these markers from Amazon in a pack, and it came in a pack of like 4, I believe. I'll do my best to link it down below. I'm not sure if these 2 shades came in the same pack, but that was the best price that I found, so I ordered them from there. And what I'm going to do is start in the middle of the flower, and you know, it does have the fine tip, which I love. And I'm just going to color in or do little strokes on each little piece. So, and the smaller pieces are obviously just a little more complex because there's, you know, you don't need that much color. And just going to work my way out and make some of the little lines. Oh, that doesn't look good. Nothing methodical, just very random. And it comes in a little more bold. And then once the alcohol marker dries, it will tone down just a bit. And that's what I'm going to do for both of these flowers, just in different, you know, shades of pink for the spring season, even though it does not feel like spring in my neck of the woods. A little fact about me, for those of you who don't watch the other craft with me videos, the Cricut crafts, I travel full-time with my husband. We live in a fifth wheel toy hauler. So I'm in the toy hauler part, and this is where my office is, my craft room, what have you. And we are currently in Wyoming, and it is windy and it is cold. But prior to being here, we were in Colorado Springs. So there's, I'm originally from East Texas, so I am used to the heat. Or not really used to the heat, I take that back. I was acclimated to the humidity and the heat, but being that we have been traveling like this and living tiny for the past 4 years now, we are more up north, and let me tell you, I do not like to go back home to Texas. I am spoiled with the cold. I really love the cold. I told my husband that whenever we settle down and buy property, I want it in the mountains. I want to be snowed in and just, you know, put a nice pot of soup or stew on the stove and, you know, just be in my little craft room working on my YouTube, and I just feel like that would be a dream come true. Alrighty, so you can kind of see it coming together. Let me hold it up closer to the camera for you. And like I said, it will tone down, but once it's all done, it's really pretty. And I'm just going to kind of repeat the process. And, you know, each little petal, if you will, is different. You know, some of them I come in with more color, and some of them, you know, just have just a little bit. It's what you visually like. And the gold, I am kind of getting some of the marker on the gold, but you can't really tell. But I am obviously trying to stay only on the petal itself. Alrighty, so this one is done. So I am done with the coral blend. So I'm going to move that aside and let the alcohol markers sit and settle. And now bringing in my, oh, hi. Someone needs some lovin'. Hey, baby. Hey, baby. All right, so I have a little guest right now. He is purring super loud. He wanted to cuddle. So what I'm going to do with the pale pink blend, I'm going to come in with the dark and do these exact same things. Start in the middle and just, you know, short strokes and work my way out. And I don't think that this is going to work. No, sir. No, sir. And I don't know, I'm not really being methodical about the direction. I'm just kind of working my way out. This is just kind of personal preference. Just let your creativity come out, experiment, and I'm sure that it will turn out, and if it doesn't, it is a lesson learned, and that's always the best part, because we can learn a lot from things not turning out the way that we envisioned. Alright, so I just lightened the color a little bit on my camera. I feel like it was too bright and the colors were not really being able to be seen. Alright, we're almost done here. And then we will start building our panel. But one thing that I think would be really neat is if Concord and Ninth came out with their own alcohol markers, the same, obviously the same color as their paper and their inks. That would just be amazing. Like if they had the paper that matched the dye ink, and then, you know, they have the embellishments that match, and then the alcohol markers, so you could, you know, use them both, or, you know, interchange them, just whatever you were crafting with, whatever you were trying to create. But I think that that would be so neat if they did that. Alrighty, so here, oops. So here are the two flowers, the peonies. And this one's more subtle because this is the first one, but you can see the color variation there. So now let's just move these aside and I will bring in my panel. So here is my panel. I use 110-pound cardstock because the 80-pound cardstock in Nina is so expensive. So my panel and my card base are both A2 size, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And like I said, this is 110 pound, and then my card base will be 110 pound as well. And now we just kind of need to play with the flowers here. And What I want to do with this one is cut this up and use pieces of this and have the coral blend and the darker gold be the focal point of the card. So first thing I want to do, and I will have to trim this down a bit, and what I've been doing lately behind the scenes is trimming off 1/8 of an inch around all 4 sides. And I'm going to do that on all 4 sides just to clean up the edges because we're going to be piecing this one along the edges. So it'll make a little more sense here in a little bit. But I'm just going to come in with my blending brush here, which is from Amazon. This is my second set and I love them. And I'm going to be using Concord and Knight's ink in Sherbet. And let's bring in paper again. Just tapping off some of that excess. Okay, and I'm going to start in the middle and just blend outwards because I want just a little more color on my panel. And I need just a bit more, and if it's going to be more heavy in the center, but it's going to be covered by that flower. So it's okay if it's, you know, not perfect because it's kind of blotchy right there. So back to what I was saying about the brushes, because they're so inexpensive, I just ordered my second set and I'll do my best to link them down below for you so to check it out if you'd like. But I wanted, since I'm starting to build my Concord and Knight dye ink collection, I wanted my own set of brushes for my Concord and Knight. Because the other set I really use for my distressed inks. Because these inks are very different and very pigmented. So, excuse that noise. So I just ordered, like I said, my second set. Alrighty. So now that we have that little bit of ink blending there, like I said, we're going to cover up that blotchiness. But it's going to look something like that, and then we will bring in these pieces here. Alrighty, so I want this to be the focal point of the card, and I can either stack it up with paper or foam. I have these foam adhesive dots here, and I have this tape from Dollar Tree. I think what I'll do is just go around the entire flower here, just kind of bending it. Okay, and then I'll fill in the rest with maybe the foam dots. Actually, I probably can cut some strips off and fill in the middle just so I have less to remove. It's easier to remove the backing to the strips than it is if I put, you know, 20 adhesive dots on here, and that's a lot of stuff to remove. So I think this is going to work. And I can just use the little foam dots within this little area just to make sure that nothing gets bent. Okay, and let's open this. And I've got quite a bit of little ones here. Let me get a tool. Use my weeding tool here, and then this will enforce the durability of the leaves. Okay, we're almost done. Alrighty. So bringing in our panel again, and now it has some dimension, and I think that looks so nice. So now for the annoying part, in my opinion, is to remove all of these backers. Okay, so one last strip here. That's the longest one. Alrighty, so making sure my panel is pretty centered in the glass mat. And you can position your peony any way that you'd like, but I think I like this part up at the towards the top, and I just want this centered. But let's see. So I just had to angle it a bit so I still had some room for these two parts, because if it's turned a little too much, it's gonna start to come off the side. And I didn't want that. So there we have one full flower, and look at the dimension, and I really love the ink blending behind it. So let me throw all of this away. All right, so now to incorporate this other flower, what I want to do is just decide on where I want the flowers to be. That is, I like that there, but this definitely fits quite well in this corner here. So what I'm going to do now with this second flower, I'm not going to prop it up. I'm going to have it directly on the panel, just so we have a variation of dimension, and I think that it will complement each other quite well. So I'm just going to add some glue to this little part here. Oh, got on my finger. And position it in place. Just personal preference on placement. Alright, so now that it is adhered, I'm going to pick it up and turn it over and very carefully cut the remaining part of the peony off so we can use it on other parts of the card. So there you have it. That's so pretty. And now it's just, you know, positioning the other parts of the leaves and, you know, just whatever you prefer, whatever you visually like. Okay, so I think I like this little part of the flower in this corner. So I'm just going to once more add some glue to that specific area and position it. Add some pressure, and once I feel that it is glued down, just repeat the process, and just cutting, or trying my best just to cut the flower and not the panel, even though I do want to bring in my paper trimmer after all these are placed and just trim it down about 1/8 of an inch all around, just to clean up the edges, because the paper trimmer will do a little bit better of a job of, you know, having cleaner edges than what I can do with some scissors. I think, well, I'm gonna angle this a bit so the leaves are kind of offset a bit, because there was too much of a gap right there. So I had to move quick on that part, and then the rest we can play with for the last corner. Yeah, I got a little bit of the panel there on that cut. And I feel like we need some more of the flower. Okay, so I think something like that is going to fit, because I definitely want a little more of the flower. So once more, let's apply the glue. Okay, it's in position, so I'm going to press it down. And now, while that dries, I'm going to put the pen back in the glue and bring in my paper trimmer, and then we're going to clean up these edges so they are nice and even. So I had to take a little detour and redo part of the card because I cut it crooked and it was definitely going to mess with my eye. I just couldn't deal with it. So bringing in my card base, let's magnetize this down, and now put that in the frame. And now I just have a little margin around, which is what I want. And we popped this up, and the other flower, the pink, is, you know, glued straight to the panel. But I was thinking of elevating it a little more. And so we're going to go ahead and pop the panel up as well. And what I want to do, I'm going to bring in this foam tape from Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to align it, you know, across the panel. Had to find my scissors. So rough measurement and aligning it at the edge. And I'm just going to repeat the process per usual, right? I really like this foam tape just because it's so inexpensive for 3 different rolls. It comes with 3 different sizes, and for $1.25, I just feel like it is worth the buy, especially if you're using it as often as I have been. I've just been really liking adding dimension to majority of my cards. Alrighty, so I'm going to remove the backers. Alright. And make sure that it is right side up. And sorry if you can see my hair. Okay, perfect. And just pressing that down so it can get a good adhesion. And now we need to play with the sentiments and some embellishments, but look how nice this is looking. So I have these sentiments. This is just a purchase from Amazon, and it has the dies, but it's all together. And we just need to figure out a sentiment here. And I recently used I'm so happy to celebrate these moments with you, and also just a card to say hello. So I can pull those as well. But I liked those 2 sentiments simply because of the size. Let me take this die out. And the best way that I have found to use this is kind of, you know, not only just position the sentiments on the card, but also play with, you know, the different cutouts that it has. Maybe hooray, it's your birthday. You know what? I think I'm going to go with that one. So this can be a birthday card. So let me go ahead and move this stuff out of the way and bring in my mini Misty. Okay, so I have a piece of scrap paper here, and just kind of rubbing the stamp because I haven't used the stamp before, or at least I I don't think that I have. Okay, and aligning that. And now I need to just add a little bit of anti-static because we're going to use some embossing powder. And I'm going to stamp it up with my Versamark. Just press that down because the magnet is really close, so sometimes that interferes with the stamp. And I'm only going to stamp it once. Okay, coming in with a piece of copy paper to use as a catch paper here, and I'm going to be using Super Fine Detail in Gold. And let's just pour a little bit on that stamp. I like to let it set for a moment and then dump the rest. Let's try to get a little more on there. I think that that is perfect. And I'm going to bring in my heat tool. I'm going to turn it on high and let this heat up for about 20 seconds and then apply it to my paper so it's nice and hot, and it'll melt that powder super fast. And that turned out super nice. So let's bring back in our die cuts here. And which one was I going to use? Was I going to use that one? I think so, yeah. So aligning that up the best that I can. And now I've got to bring in some washi tape and tape that down because I obviously don't want any shifting because I want that cut out as perfect as it can be. If I can find, there we go. Okay. And let's add just one more piece just for safe measures. And I'm going to run this through my Platinum 6. Okay, so let's just pop this out. And there I have my sentiment, and it has a little stitched border. I really like that. Okay, so let's bring back our card. And I like to use my tweezers for this part because it gets my big old hands out of the way. So I think visually it looks good at the bottom, or maybe right there at the top. I don't really care for it centered, like at all. I do know that I want to build this up as well, so I'm going to bring in the thinner double-sided foam tape here. And once more, this is the Dollar Tree. And I need some, I really need to invest in some different scissors for this because they just, it sticks so much. And I'm just going to do 2 strips. So remove the backers. Oh, goodness. Okay, and position. Making sure it's straight. I think it needs to come up a little higher. Okay. Right there. That is perfect. Alright, so now we just have so much dimension with that foam tape, but I'm loving it. And now we just need to add some embellishments here. I have these from Hobby Lobby. They're kind of like a light colored amber. And as you can see, it pairs really nicely with the different shades of gold. It's not too much in my opinion. So once more, I'm going to bring in my little tool here and just going to kind of, you know, position them around and kind of see what we like. This card has definitely been a labor of love. Well, it was a labor of love regardless because it's a lot of little steps, but because I made it crooked, I added a little more work for myself. But I hope that this was inspirational to you, as always, because that is why us YouTubers create and put things online. We just want to share our ideas and inspire creativity. And also, you know, it's nice to get feedback every once in a while as well, because we all have different views and perspectives when it comes to what is aesthetically pleasing. And maybe we just need 2 right here. I don't know if I should, I feel like if I put 1 over on this side, it's going to be too much, but I feel like it's kind of missing something as well. There or there. I think that's it. All right, guys, and this is the finished card. We have 2 different types of gold with the cardstock. We did a little bit of coloring with our alcohol markers and dimension. I really love how this turned out. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. If this was inspirational to you or you just enjoyed the content, please give this a thumbs up. And I would love it if you subscribed if you are new to the channel. As always, thank you for watching. It means a lot to me, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, everyone.